Hello everyone. We are diving into the heart of the EU AI Act, which is the gold standard for how we manage these powerful tools. Now, the official textbook definition of the EU AI Act's risk-based approach is a regulatory framework that categorizes AI systems based on the level of risk they pose to the health, safety, or fundamental rights of individuals, applying increasingly stringent requirements as the risk level ascends. In simple terms, for the rest of us, it just means the EU isn't trying to ban everything. They're just saying the more dangerous the potential mess up, the more homework you have to do before you can play. It's like a parent setting rules. You can play with safety scissors all day, but if you want to use the power saw, someone is going to be watching you very closely. So now that we have mastered the basic philosophy of matching the rules to the risk, you might be wondering what sits at the very peak of that pyramid. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the prohibited risk category. Now, to really see how this works, we have to look at the very top of that pyramid. The formal definition here refers to prohibited risk as AI practices that are deemed an unacceptable threat to people's safety and rights and are therefore strictly banned within the Union. In simple terms, these are the no-go zones. Imagine a boss who installs a camera that reads your subconscious thoughts to see if you are actually loyal to the company, or a government using a social credit score to decide if you are allowed to buy a train ticket based on your political tweets. That's the stuff of sci-fi nightmares, and the EU has basically drawn a line in the sand and said, not on our watch. But while these scary banned technologies get all the headlines, most of you in the corporate world are going to be spending your time dealing with the next level down, which is where things get a bit more technical and demanding. This brings us to high-risk AI systems. The formal definition describes these as AI used in sensitive sectors like healthcare, policing, or recruitment that could significantly impact a person's life chances or physical safety. In simple terms, this is the check your work category. Think about an AI tool your HR department uses to filter resumes. If that algorithm has a hidden bias and starts tossing out every candidate who played women's lacrosse, it's changing lives for the worse. Because the stakes are so high, the EU says you can't just set it and forget it. You have to show your receipts, prove your data is clean, and keep a human in the loop to hit the emergency stop button if things go sideways. It's a lot of work, but it's what keeps the system fair. Now, you might be thinking, what if my AI isn't deciding someone's career, but it's still interacting with them? Well, that moves us into a different bucket of rules entirely. That bucket is called limited risk, and it's all about transparency. The official stance is that these systems must meet specific transparency obligations so users know they are interacting with an AI. In simple terms, this is the don't trick me rule. You've probably seen this at the office with those customer service chatbots. If I'm chatting with helpful Heather about my lost package, the EU AI Act says Heather needs to admit she's a bunch of code, not a person in a call center. The same goes for those deepfake videos. If you are using AI to make a video of the CEO dancing, you have to label it so people don't think it's real. It's a truth in advertising approach. But what about the millions of little AI tools we use every day that don't really pose a threat to anyone? That leads us to the foundation of our pyramid, minimal or no risk. The book defines these as AI systems that represent negligible risk to citizens' rights or safety and are permitted with no additional legal obligations. In simple terms, this is the leave it alone category. Think about the spam filter in your email or the AI in your video game that makes the aliens hide behind crates. Nobody is losing their civil liberties because an alien moved left instead of right. For these, the EU stays out of the way. You can innovate and move fast because the harm is basically zero. It's the widest part of the pyramid because, honestly, most AI is just helpful, boring background noise. So, we've seen the what, the different levels of risk. But you're probably wondering, who actually has to make sure these rules are followed? That brings us to our final stop for today, the roles of providers and deployers. The formal definition distinguishes between the provider, who develops the AI, and the deployer, who uses it in a professional capacity. To put this in simple terms, think of it like a car. The provider is the manufacturer. they have to make sure the brakes work and the airbags deploy before the car leaves the factory. The deployer is the person driving the car to work. They have to make sure they aren't speeding and that they're using the tool responsibly. If you buy a high-risk HR tool, the developer has to build it right, but you, as the user, have to make sure you're using it correctly. Understanding who holds the bag when things go wrong is the key to staying compliant.